Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Shelley Duffy. It's called the Early Learning Institute, or TELI to many. Some of you may not know about TELI, and so we'd like to tell you all about their wonderful services and how they help children all across Allegheny County every year. And to do that this morning are Rutowski, Executive Director of TELI, and also joining us, Kerry Cannon. She received early learning intervention services through TELI, and her mom, Sheila, who's now the program coordinator of the Down Syndrome Center of Western Pennsylvania of Children's Hospital. And Kara, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about what the Early Learning Institute is all about.
Sure, thanks, Shelley. The Early Learning Institute was founded back in 1958 as St. Peter's Child Development Centers. And really looking back at our roots, it's interesting how we all got started because there was a small group of parents that had children with developmental delays. And looking around across what was available for families in 1958, the only option available to them was to put their child in an institution. And these families decided, you know what, our kids can do better. We see that all of our kids can be successful in school, and they wanted to provide some other options for their kids other than institutionalizing them. So they got together and they approached a pastor at St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Brentwood, and they asked if they could try something, a pilot classroom in the basement of his church, and he agreed. So that group of parents, along with the support of the congregation, started out with a group of 8 students, and we were the first specialized preschool in Allegheny County. And the model made so much sense, and the kids did so well and demonstrated such remarkable progress that they grew and grew and grew. And over the years, the Early Learning Institute, which we did change our name to in 1994, has grown from serving one pilot classroom of children in 1958, serving 8 kids, to today we serve over 1,500 children from across Allegheny County every year.
Now, this is a local organization. It hasn't gone national or anything like that yet, has it?
No, it has not gone national, but as you can see, we have grown tremendously. And we actually were never affiliated with St. Peter's Church. We're not a faith-based organization, so our children can come to us regardless of any kind of faith, whatever faith they have. And we have grown over the years. We no longer are located in the basement of St. Peter's Episcopal Church. And as I mentioned, we did change our name. We do have our administrative offices right here in Greentree, but we do have 2 locations, one in Wilkins Township and another in our Ohio Valley Center, which is Kennedy Township out by the airport. But the largest amount of our children are served through in-home services, which is our infant and toddler program, and that's provided wherever the child is during the day, whether it's home with mom, dad, or a caregiver, or in a daycare center. And that program serves children from age birth to 3, and our group of mobile therapists go out. That's occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, and child developmental specialists go into the home and work with these children to help them reach the normal developmental milestones for a child their age.
What is the specific age group that you serve?
We serve actually birth to 5.
Okay.
And through the infant and toddler program, we serve children from age birth to 3. And then we do have a daycare program through our Harmony Learning Center that serves children as young as 6 months. And then we also have 12 months, and then we also have a preschool programming that serves children up to age 5.
Let's talk about some of the ways that you can tell if your child. Now, I would think at birth might be a little tough to tell if there is an issue or if there are some learning problems. Tell us the steps that you need to go through and what you should be paying attention to early on with your children.
Sure. And as you said, some children you don't notice a delay until a little bit later on. Some children right away are more at risk for developmental delay if they are severely underweight at birth, if they are born prematurely. Those children automatically are watched and screened to make sure that there is not some kind of issue. But the typical things to watch for, and parents that have had children or are familiar with taking their child to their pediatrician will be familiar with this. There are normal developmental milestones for children. At 6 months, for instance, they will say at 6 to 9 months your child should be able to start to sit up, roll over. Some of those things, they'll start to smile, acknowledge the parent, grasping things, picking things up with their fingers, putting things in their mouths, responding to noise in certain ways, and then starting to coo, attempting to form words and babble. And those different kinds of developmental milestones at different months and years are the things that pediatricians and our therapists watch for with parents. And a lot of times the kind of calls we'll get is a parent will say, you know what, my child's a year old and they just seem way behind. A lot of times when parents notice is if their child's in a play group with other families, other children from other families, and they'll notice, the other kids are crawling or cooing or babbling and doing things, and their child is not attempting to do any of those things. We've had children come to us at 2 that just aren't forming words yet at all, not even dada or mama. So those kinds of things start to become indicators with families. And what they typically will do, and we encourage families to do, is to ask their pediatrician for that evaluation. And usually the pediatrician, we've done a really good job of educating pediatricians about signs of developmental delays. So pediatricians will conduct that evaluation. The other thing families can do is call an organization called the Alliance for Infants and Toddlers, because they do offer 2 services for kids. I mentioned before that premature babies and babies with low birth weight are screened, and that's what I was referring to. The Alliance for Infants and Toddlers does have a screening and tracking program, and they evaluate infants and toddlers who are at risk for developmental delays. And the other program the Alliance has is a service coordination program. Once they evaluate a child, if they are through the instrument they use developmentally delayed, the child is eligible for early intervention services. And those services are provided at no cost to the family. And those services can include a range of things such as occupational therapy, speech language therapy, social work services, or physical therapy, or child developmental specialist therapy. And that's the program I mentioned before. It's provided at the family's home or the child's daycare or preschool setting, wherever the child is during the day. Our therapists travel there and provide that service in the child's natural environment. The other thing our therapists are excellent at doing is working with the families within the home to adapt the family's everyday environment, so that when our therapist is not there, because the family spends the most time with the child, it's really important to reinforce the work that our therapist works on with the child throughout the rest of his time with mom and dad and grandma and siblings. So we will take regular toys that the family has available in the home and show them how to play with the child to reinforce those growing skills. For instance, if they're trying to get the child to crawl, they might hold a ball up or something bright to get the child to navigate crawling across the floor, or things to encourage them to roll over, or give them blocks or different small toys to manipulate in their hands to develop those fine and gross motor skills with the child. So it doesn't have to involve a lot of expensive equipment. It's actually better if it involves toys and things that are in the child's natural environment during the day.
Back to cost a bit, you had mentioned about those particular services. What about your other services and or programs what are we talking about as far as cost goes there?
We do offer childcare and preschool services, and we are very competitive with other institutions. They are more of a typical childcare and preschool, because we believe in an inclusive environment, which means that children with developmental delays are educated or cared for along with a child with special needs. Now, our facilities, even though they are private pay and are certainly competitive with our peers on the market, we do specialize in serving children that do have those special needs, because all of our staff are highly trained and certified in working with children with special needs. We do have some scholarships available, and those are based on availability and funding from the state.
You had mentioned briefly, I believe, Harmony Learning Center, and also, too, you have Social Butterflies. Tell us a little bit about both of those.
Yes, the Harmony Learning Center is our child care, and that serves children down to age 12. months, and we also, up through that program, can provide an after-school or before-school environment for children in kindergarten. And that program is located out in Penn Center East. It's right off Business Route 22.